Hey guys, welcome back to Buzzer to Buzzer. All right, guys, so the 2021 NBA season is nearly coming to a close. There's about an average of 13 games each team has left to play. In my mind, the standings in the East and the West are looking quite different than what we initially expected. Guys, we started off the year making our predictions for the East and West for the number one seeds, and let's just say that those predictions are a tad bit off. Guys, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen some major headlines developing. The Knicks in the Eastern Conference securing one of their first winning seasons in over a decade. Yes, the New York Knicks, a winning record after nearly a decade. Derrick Rose being the youngest MVP to win. The Knicks currently sitting at the fourth spot in the East. Other developments including, guys, in the Western switching conferences, the Phoenix Suns still sitting atop of the West, proving that they're real contenders at that number one spot, along with the Jazz at 2. And they have secured a playoff spot along with the Clippers and the Nuggets too. Now, guys, I think this is all a bit different information than we're expecting. You can see down there it says the Lakers are falling to the number 6 spot, something which none of us, I think, expected initially. But everything's changing. A lot to talk about. Let's get on started talking about the East first. Any surprises amongst the top, the 76ers, Nets, Bucks, the Knicks? Our thoughts?
First getting started on the Knicks, I think that the performance is it's honestly amazing to see. I feel like not a lot of people talk about the Knicks right now. It's all about the Nets in the East or the Lakers in the West or the Clippers. But I feel like you got to give the Knicks some credit. Julius Randle's having an amazing year. I think that's a player that people need to look out for in the future. I think Derrick Rose too. I think adding Derrick Rose honestly was a great decision. Obviously, I think Derrick Rose is still a great player right now. RJ Barrett, a young player. I think he's also finding his rhythm, doing well in the league. As far as other teams, I actually think a pretty notable matchup was the Bucks and the Nets. They had a 2-game. Another notable matchup was between the Bucks and Nets. They played back-to-back games against each other, and both times the Bucks won. And I think that this is a pretty important game because obviously these are two of the top 3 teams in the East right now. So I think James Harden obviously not playing on the Nets was a big deal. Probably made a huge impact, but that still shows that the Bucks and Giannis are amazing in the regular season. Hopefully, we gotta see if they can keep it up in the playoffs.
I just want to see the Nets healthy for the playoffs. We haven't seen the Nets healthy pretty much all year, and that's been obviously a big detriment to their team. But they've still actually played pretty well considering how many injuries they've had. Kyrie spontaneously leaving, KD with the eye issues, and so I just hope I want to see the Nets healthy. But other than that, there's been no surprises. Obviously, the Knicks have been really good, but the Hawks also are up there too. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out towards June and July.
Speaking of the Nets, I think it's in the best favor to not even play their whole lineup. No team's going to know how to defend that. They haven't done it all year. Maybe they got a handful of games. So it's kind of a high risk, though. If it doesn't work out, they're going to have to find a solution fast in 7 games. Too. If you go down 2 games, that's hard to come back from. Obviously, our boy Kawhi did it a few years ago against the Bucks, but Kawhi, not everyone is built like Kawhi Leonard.
Exactly. For sure, the Nets and the 76ers is going to be interesting to see who takes home that home court advantage for the playoffs coming up. I think the Nets are only a tiebreaker game behind or a loss or 2 behind the 76ers. But other than that, looking at some, the Nets were expected to be up there, the Bucks as well in the top 3. The 76ers, interesting to see that they're still number 1. But looking at teams like the Heat and the Celtics, I would expect the Heat and the Celtics to be higher up, especially the Boston Celtics, considering all the experience they've racked up over the past couple of years. They're currently sitting at the 7th seed, looking to play in the play-in tournament, which, as a reminder, the 7th and 8th seed and the 9th and 10th seed are all going to be available for. So it'll be interesting to see if the Boston Celtics can sneak in and hopefully stay in the playoffs. Other than that, the East, something which we never expected, New York Knicks making the Knicks market marketable. I think that next season, free agency rolls around. I think the Knicks have one of the biggest budgets to have new players come in with free agency market size. And I think that this season is going to be a good selling point to make sure that when free agents like Kyrie and KD are on the market, they're not about to go 20 minutes across town. And instead, who knows? They might be pulling up to Madison Square Garden. All right, guys, now let's move on towards the Western Conference, where there's been a bunch more surprising things going on, guys. I think if you start out at the top of the conference on the screen right now, the Phoenix Suns sitting atop of the conference. Then, not a team which we expected, but still there throughout the whole season, the Utah Jazz. Then comes Orange Kawhi Leonard-led Los Angeles Clippers, the Nikola Jokic-led Denver Nuggets, the Dallas Mavericks led by Luka Doncic at the 5th seed. Guys, I haven't said a team yet. Of course, the Los Angeles Lakers at the 6th spot. A tantrum of injuries which has followed this whole season with LeBron, AD coming back in. LeBron's still missing a couple of games here and there. And the Blazers at 7, the Warriors at 8th. Let's talk about the obvious elephant in the room. The Lakers at 6, guys. Our thoughts?
They trash.
Something obvious about that. This is expected by everyone. No, I'm kidding. But, obviously, like I feel like everyone saw this coming ever since LeBron and AD left the Lakers, or like they're injured, they're not playing. Like Lakers don't have not a lot of great players, or LeBron and Anthony Davis who can carry a team, and especially in the West, they're super competitive. I really don't see like the Lakers. There's a good shot that they can fall to 7, and then obviously the whole 7, 8, 9, 10, battling it out to make the playoffs and stuff like that. That's going to be interesting to see what teams at the end of the season, what teams are ranked where. And the Lakers they're in a tough spot in my opinion.
The Lakers not only, they have a tough schedule coming up too. They got to play the Clippers, they got to play the Suns. I believe they still have to play Portland, and many other teams. I think the Pelicans as well. So it's not an easy schedule, and I think LeBron's taking 2 games off here. Obviously, maybe he re-injured himself or whatever. He wasn't 100%. But it's going to be interesting because, I don't think AD's 100%. He hasn't been looking too good. Andre Drummond, he's been okay throughout his time in Los Angeles. So, for the Lakers, their ideal scenario is not to make the play-in. Give LeBron as much rest as he needs. Otherwise, if they make a play-in, I think it'd be a tough stretch for the Lakers.
Speaking of the Lakers, statistically, when the Lakers don't have AD and LeBron, they play better than if they just had Anthony Davis. So looking at Anthony Davis is taking away from this team, the possessions they have to give to him. Obviously, Arden said he's not at 100%. I think they're kind of forcing him the ball, and I think they should just save him for the playoffs. The play-in tournaments kind of seems inevitable at this point. Portland's hot right now. It doesn't seem like Dallas is going to lose out this easy schedule. And so for me, it's going to be focusing on winning those 2 important games, whether it's Memphis, San Antonio, or Golden State. And hopefully we get to see LeBron in the playoffs because everyone loves seeing LeBron in the playoffs, but we might not be able to this year.
Well, I think that those concerns are all a fantasy. Sure, the concern is there, but 6th seed right now, we all know all you need to do is for LeBron to enter the door. And once he's in the door, he's about to build a house. And there's going to be no question what's going to happen in the playoffs right now.
So he failed to build a house in Toronto then against the Raptors? I think he failed to build a house there a few days ago.
4-0 sweeps multiple times. Got Dwayne Casey fired in Toronto. All that happened essentially. So I think that there's going to be no question. The only reason to be concerned, honestly, for the Lakers is just getting into the playoffs, I guess. But I think that the Lakers are coming off that win against the Nikola Jokic-led Nuggets with Anthony Davis. I think there's a lot of optimism here. Not too scared. We'll be talking when the playoffs roll around when we're playing the Clippers and we're going to a Game 7 where LeBron hits a game winner in Kawhi's face. But that's going to come in the future. Don't worry, Arian. Until then, got to give a lot of respect, though, to a squad which hasn't gotten much throughout this whole season. The Suns guys, Chris Paul, Devin Booker lighting it up. CP3 guys, honestly, making a name for an MVP candidate, It's crazy how the impact which he's had with the Suns. We saw what he did with the OKC Thunder last season. And this season to come to a team like the Suns with a young squad, provide that veteran leadership, it's phenomenal to see. I think none of us were expecting that impact to be this grand, right?
Yeah. Looking at the record right now, especially, I've been saying this over and over again, because I just want to emphasize how competitive the West is. Like when you have teams like, the Jazz, Suns, Clippers, Lakers, all that we've talked about, all that we've mentioned, it's just crazy to be dominating in the West, and that's exactly what the Suns are doing. I've been saying this for past 5-6 years. I've always CP3, the impact he has on every single team he goes to is just insane. He's one of those floor generals, an amazing playmaker, and he also he's just good at everything, to be honest. And I feel like he's underappreciated a lot of times, but especially with their good record, amazing record right now, I think that no one will. I think that CP3 will be talked about next couple seasons.
Yeah, CP3's had a major impact on this team, and obviously he's an MVP candidate for a reason. So I think they have the best chance to knock off the team like the Clippers. or a team like Denver because their number one defense right now. CP3 in that offense with Devin Booker is doing really well. So, they're going to be a huge threat, I think, and they have a legitimate shot at the finals this year.
I think you guys covered it when it comes to CP3 and Suns. I want to talk about another MVP candidate, Nikola Jokic. He's been doing amazing. We all know Jamal Murray's out for the season with his torn ACL, but him and Aaron Gordon have still been tearing it up. There are concerns that can this team win without, a point guard like Jamal Murray. Obviously, we saw what he did in the playoffs last year was borderline amazing. And so for the Nuggets to take that hit and still be the fourth seed contending for that 3 spot, I think it's amazing. And Jokic and honestly Aaron Gordon deserve a lot of credit too.
Well, for sure. I think that's what's going to make these playoffs one which we haven't seen that competitive. I think that honestly, so much variability. You do not know who's going to make it far. Initially, guys, I think it was all, Lakers and Nets heading into the season. Obviously, LeBron 80 versus the three-headed monsters. But honestly, now it's all for chance. And only time shall tell who plays in these 2021 NBA playoffs. Alrighty, guys. Well, those are our thoughts on the NBA 2021 NBA season coming to a close. Guys, there's a lot changing. And as always, guys, be sure to like button, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on the whole landscape of the NBA heading into these playoffs. Who do you got going far? And your thoughts on the MVP race changing as well. Guys, take care. Catch you guys on the next one.